Okay, now I need to mix the dark side of this yellow. I'm going to take ochre, viridian, and let's grab a little bit of cadmium orange as well. When you're dealing with a tree like this, an autumn tree with all these really light colored leaves, the shadow side is not going to be much darker than the light side. It's going to be slightly darker, but not much. And part of it too is because when you have strong sunlight shining through these tree leaves and they're this light, they tend to become very translucent. And you have all this ambient light just bouncing all over the place. So you're not going to have any super dark darks in this tree with the exception of the tree trunks themselves. Now I'm going to go in thicker this time. We are on the home run stretch, so we can go thick because hopefully all our values are good. So you can have a lot of fun doing some thick stuff. So I'm going to go in and I'm going to basically apply the shadow side. And here's one thing about trees when you're painting them, you know, when you're trying to determine the form of them with light and value, is that it tends to go in a diagonal, okay? You don't want to make the mistake of thinking like, okay, the shadow side is all on the left side and the light side's all on the right. Because it might be like that at extreme sunset because the sun is right on the horizon. Remember, our sun is somewhat up in the sky still, even with the late afternoon light like this. And so our shadow is going to kind of run the difference between the shadow and the light side. It's going to kind of go in a diagonal. So from the upper left down to the lower right is the way our shadows are generally going to run. If you simplify the form of the tree, that is. Now, I overcompensated a bit on the shadow because now I'm going to go in with the light and I can play with some of that light and fix up that shadow as I need to. Now, this is the time to really sculpt this tree the way you want. The paint's thick. The paint in the background is probably dry. So you can really have a lot of fun with this. But even though that paint's dry back there, I still tend to use a pretty light approach of paint application. Just because a light approach and applying the paint lightly is going to give me more texture than if I rub it in really hard with a lot of pressure. And as I come down here, as I do get into wet paint, I'm going to lighten my approach even more. So right now I did a bit of hyperbole on this diagonal principle that we have going on here. Our light source is coming from the upper right area of the painting. Probably, you know, sun was probably up in, you know, this area up in here, or even higher up. And so it's going to come down, it's going to hit some of the top here, and then all this right side of the tree, going almost all the way down. Not quite all the way down to the ground, but close. So now I'm going to break this up a bit because you don't want it to be a perfectly diagonal line because you have parts of the tree that are going in and out. They're coming closer to you, going further in. So we want to sculpt it that way. Let's put a little bit here. And now I'm going to take these two colors and I'm going to mix between them. I'm going to mix like an intermediary. And I can use that to go into the border area between the light and the shadow and tone that down a bit. And in some areas I think my shadow might be a little too dark. So I can use the light color to lighten that shadow a bit. And then with the shadow area, I'm going to mix a little more Viridian into the shadow color in a couple spots. And maybe come down in here at the very bottom, a little darker, a little greener.
Thanks for watching this short clip from my most recent live oil painting session. Our group, Oil Painting at Home, meets online 4 times a month through Zoom, and we work on an oil painting together from start to finish. Members of the group interact not only with me, but with each other while we paint, and they get live feedback on their work. Each session is recorded, which allows members to catch up on anything they may have missed or would like to see again. I also record myself doing the same painting privately in my studio with full commentary. This lets students see how I do the same painting from start to finish in just 1 or 2 sessions using a wet-on-wet technique. We also meet together for live Q&A and critique sessions, and not only that, but members get immediate access to all past painting sessions so they can learn how to paint a wide variety of subject matter at no additional cost. This amounts to hundreds of hours of instruction. Access to Oil Painting at Home's live sessions are very limited and turnover is very low. So if you've not done so yet, sign up on the priority list by clicking on the link in the description below. Once a space becomes open, I'll let you know.